Hello there, it's Overflow, and with the recent boom of PC gaming, I thought I'd like to talk about PCs and common PC scams. So, if you're someone who doesn't know how to build a PC, but you do want to use a PC, maybe you've gone on websites like Amazon, eBay, Newegg to see, how can I get a gaming PC? And if you just type in gaming PC, you can see there's lots and lots of results. But today, I'm going to go through some of those results that seem a little sketchy, and I'm going to warn you on how to avoid them. So let's start. So these three are generally the ones that I would recommend because they come from either reputable brands or they're really transparent on their pricing. Like this one is immediately apparent that it's giving an i5 10400F and a RTX 3050. So that's immediately apparent, but these, they're a little sketchy. So let's take a look at both of these. And this one is another one, although it is in that weird price range where you don't think you're going to be getting a good PC deal. This one is from a reputable OEM, so I trust this. With these, so let's take a look at these. Custom Gaming Desktop Computer by Kepler Systems, i5 2500, that's very old, that's 2nd gen CPU, 8 gigs of DDR3 RAM, that's again very old. You're going to need at least 16 gigs if you want to run any game. A 750 Ti, which has been dropped support, which NVIDIA has dropped support for it, so you won't be able to get the latest drivers, with 2 gigs of RAM, which is worse than an Intel UHD integrated graphics, a 500 gigabyte SSD drive, which makes no sense, 550 watt power. It doesn't even say power supply, it just says power, or for USB Wi-Fi adapter. Especially this last part, if they say that it's a USB Wi-Fi adapter, then you know it's an old motherboard that doesn't have Wi-Fi built in. So let's take a look at this. Windows 10 Pro, Genesis, VGA. It's very uncommon that you find VGA on any video output, even like motherboard output, USB, Ethernet, HDMI, whatever. A maximum memory support of 8 gigabytes. I have no clue about the i5 2500, so let's take a look at this. So whenever you're looking at pre-built machines, you're going to want to look at websites and search up their components. So Intel.com is obviously a great way. I'm not recommending that you buy this for $179, just get something else. So the i5 2500 that they're putting in this is a good whopping, let's see, it's about 9 years out of date, and that's based on when the support for it dropped and not when it's released. So it's 11 years out of date with 95 watts TDP, so that's not going to be very good power efficiency. And of course, they got the listing wrong because the max memory type here is 32 gigabytes and not 8 gigabytes. Wi-Fi, DDR3, weird caps lock, hard drive 7200 RPM with no OEM, graphics RAM 2 gigabytes, and DDR3 SDR RAM. Okay, so the next thing that you want to do when you're looking at a pre-built is by looking at the reviews. So of course, the questions on Amazon, you don't look at these. These are most of the time trash. You're never going to find anything. And of course, let's take a look at the pictures. That's kind of weird. Of course, the PC graphics suck. Duh, because it's so old. There's no disk drive and they give you a disk. There's VGA. So here you go. That's what it looks like. So the obvious strategy that these use is to put a crap ton of RGB in their case to make it look like it's brand new, but reuse really old components like 2nd gen i5s, GTX 750 Ti's. So let's take a look at this one. This one, again, using the strategy of an abundance of RGB, and you can even look through the pictures that that's an Intel stock cooler. They're not even trying to hide the fact that it's an Intel stock cooler. Unlike this one, they put flashy RGB coolers in. This one's just Intel stock cooler. So This one right here is an i5 with no model number, so that's another apparent scam. If they're not telling you the model number, then don't buy it. 650, even older, and 3 RGB fans with a remote. Again, if you're looking at a PC just for RGB, don't get it. And of course, if you're controlling RGB with a remote, then that's going to be slightly older, because most of them can be controlled through the motherboard now. So, very generic Core i5, 8 gigabytes, and this one comes with a hard drive, not even an SSD. For now, you definitely want an SSD. So, here's another red flag to watch out: no apparent model number, no apparent model number, no apparent model number. Okay, and here's one of the reviews. Awesome gaming computer, not sure about it. So you can see right here that if you're looking at 5-star reviews and you're looking at a PC, make sure that they talk about specs, or else it's gonna be like an unsuspecting person who doesn't know much about computers. They're going to be looking at the outside, which is exactly the strategy that they're using, is to make it look good on the outside but make it really bad. Bad Wi-Fi. So this is another person who doesn't know much about PCs and gaming. So they just, they look at the basics but don't look at the specs. Of course, 11-year-old gamer girl, they won't know. They're gonna hop on Roblox, Fortnite, and they'll probably do okay, maybe hit 60 FPS on low graphic settings. So that's the type of people that they're targeting here, people who don't know much about tech. Okay, Shutdown Problems, and of course, this one is even worse because it doesn't tell you what power supply it has, and there's a lot of specifications removed. And this one here, this one's a renewed model, so again, I wouldn't get renewed models from Amazon because it can be a lot of gambling games, and for a PC, you don't want a gambling game, so we're going to skip this one. So let's go to eBay, because eBay's another place that you can get juked. So, first one, Dell gaming PC, Core i5, 16 gigs. This basically falls into the same trap. They're using, this RGB keyboard to say, hey man, that's really new, whatever, but it's not. I promise you it's not. Gaming headphones, RGB keyboard, fast, next day shipping. So of course with these, they're going to be catching attention. Of course, no model number on the headers, only $200. Like, let's think, what can you get in the normal new market for $200? Yeah, an Acer Chromebook, like a really low-end Acer Chromebook. So this is going to be pretty much the same thing as an Acer Chromebook. Because if you look at the old GT740s, any mid-range Intel UHD integrated graphics could probably beat that out in terms of FPS. So, not a lot of specs. They're not even Core i5 3rd gen, which model? So again, no apparent model number. Microsoft authorized refurbisher, that doesn't really say anything. Of course, if you have VGA, then it's not new. Look at how old that graphics looks. It still has the motherboard, revealed. Most newer ones don't. Oh my god, that's a really old Windows thing. Let's look at the next one. This is 500. And again, if we look at this, custom tower i5 16 gigs RAM NVIDIA. And it doesn't tell you any of the actual specs. And this one, oh my god, it's an i7 with an NVIDIA K620. That's good, right? Big number equals good. And this custom gaming PC, this one probably is underpriced, but it's a bid. So, we'll talk about bids later. And of course, i5 gaming PC desktop, that's not. Okay, so this one promises us an i5, 16 gigs of RAM, and NVIDIA. So, graphics processing type, dedicated graphics. That's not, dedicated graphics, whatever. 3.2 gigahertz, 500 hard drive, GT630 2 gigabytes. Again, any integrated graphics could beat this out. It includes your antivirus software, which is McAfee, and there's no screen. 16 gigs of, I don't know which RAM. Maybe they'll just like ship you a Go with it. 16 RAMs. And Counter-Strike, League of Legends, Call of Duty, and Valorant. Rainbow Six Siege, and Skyrim. So, basically what they're saying is, this PC right here, it can handle that. So let's look at the Valorant system requirements. So right here from Play Valorant, they're asking for not a lot. So this is recommended specs that can hit 60 FPS. So this is basically something that's barely scraping. So that system barely scrapes. That's the wrong link. I don't think Modern Warfare is that thing can handle Modern Warfare. Okay, let's get it from activation. How much computer do you need to play Modern Warfare? You will need basically the same thing, a GTX 670. So that's the minimum, like the lowest that you can hit, and a 1650, which is the recommended. So you're gonna be able to like open the game, but it's not going to be a fun experience. So I'm pretty sure they handpicked all these games, because I don't see a lot of like actual AAA titles on not like actual, you know what I mean, like big graphically demanding AAA titles on here. They basically cherry picked the ones that, yeah, it can run, but it's not going to run well. There's a big difference between can run and can run well. So while we're here, another thing that computer manufacturers try to do is they put Windows 11 into their monitor or gaming pictures. Don't look at the monitor pictures. That's not going to tell you anything. So then again, we have this one with flashy RGB, a flashy new case, and flashy RGB fans. So let's see what this one says. This one just says i7 quad, 8 gigs, terabyte, NVIDIA K620. So let's take a look at this. This is a first gen Core i7. White, does not it's a Quadro K620, which is around the same bit as everything else, which is worse than your integrated graphics. So this thing still comes with a hard drive, which is going to take forever to use. 8 gigs of RAM, which is not good. And let's take a look at this sheet. So this is an i7 860. It's so old that it still didn't get to 4 digits yet. DDR3 RAM, and a Quadro K620, 2 gigabytes, a 1 terabyte SATA, or 2 500 gigabytes if I don't know, no optical disc, and then they give you a USB adapter, because of course they couldn't jam that into the motherboard. Oh wow, this thing, it's for light gaming. Light gaming, you say? You didn't say that in model. It just says custom gaming. You put RGB into it. So I don't think it can handle any of these, especially Age of Empires 4. Okay, so weird story. Not weird. So I have myself a MacBook here with an Intel i5 8120Y, an Intel UHD 617, and it was running Windows, and guess what? It didn't run well. It was absolutely struggling at making anything over 5 frames per second, and absolutely struggling on launching the game. So that's an 8th gen i5 with basically almost the same. I'd say that those are kind of equivalent, but you can see, so minimum i5 6330U. So this thing doesn't actually meet the minimum requirements. HD on the CPU part, it kind of meets it on the GPU part, but it's not a good experience. Like running it on something that's kind of like is a slight notch above minimum. It was a horrible experience. Grand Theft Auto, I'm pretty sure that's 4. If you don't know how to read Roman numerals, you're going to get absolutely bamboozled. Of course it can run Roblox and Among Us. Anything can run Roblox and Among Us. Okay, 8. So of course there's this like really weird document thing. And this Dell one is actually, let's look at it. Wait, we already looked at this. There's a Dell one that I wanted to show you on Amazon. This one. So if you're looking for a lower end gaming PC with a graphics card, I'd recommend something that at least has a Coffee Lake or an 8th gen processor that's not like low end, 16 gigs of RAM, an SSD along with a hard drive, and a graphics card that is still supported by NVIDIA. Anything else is kind of a can't have. Oh, and motherboard Wi-Fi is nice to have, but you're going to want to use Ethernet. This is something that I actually would recommend because number one, it's from a mostly reputable brand. It has a GTX 1650, which hasn't been dropped by NVIDIA yet, a 10th gen Core i3, which will have good support for the years to come. It can still handle games, and it's not scraping the minimum. 8 gigs of RAM, and this is the beauty of desktop towers that you can up on later. 256 gigs of SSD. This will be a little restricting, but again, you can pop open your side case and put a hard drive in there. Windows 11, Windows sucks. Wi-Fi 5, this is, whatever. Of course, this is a great choice. Amazon who buys 3 PCs at once? But Amazon recommendations are whack. So this is another one of the great things that they're on the better end of the $500 to $750 range. I don't know why it says it's 3.7 gigahertz Apple C13, but if you can get these from the actual official shop and they're good, then this is a pretty good deal. So that's going to be it for this video. Let's recap what are the things to watch out before we go. Number 1, ignore RGB. Make sure it has enough fans, but ignore any other RGB. RGB is not an important part. Number 2, make sure that they're not trying to hide specs by just saying i5 or i7. Make sure they're listing a model number. Number 3, you want not anything too old or else they're going to be dropping support, and that's not going to be good. Number 4, you want at least 16 gigs of RAM, or else most games will run out of RAM and crash. Number 5, you want an NVIDIA graphics card or an AMD equivalent that is still supported by their manufacturers. And then the last, or maybe not last one, is that you want to have an SSD and along with a hard drive or just an SSD, so that way you can upgrade it later. And here's a kind of last one: don't get a Dell because they're kind of hard to upgrade, but anything else you should be good. Just to remember to actually look at specs, search up your game's minimum spec requirements, and don't look at RGB. That's it for this video. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.